Well, hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of the Get Happy podcast, easy for me to say, with your host, moi, Rudrani Davy. And today, I have a very special guest. We talk on the daily. We work together. This is like my compadre in crime of the creation station, Miss Alyssa Falk. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Woo-hoo! Yes, and like we just decided this morning we were going to jump on this call and have a delightful conversation. Just so you guys know, and you can't steal her from me. Alyssa is my graphic designer. And as I said before, my compadre, we actually create together in amazing ways. I'm so grateful to have her in my world. She's a mother of two. She's also in Access Consciousness. And, actually tell the folks a little bit about you, all the things you do and be.
Well, you were doing such a great job, and I've been working on my receiving, so I appreciate I appreciate all the things you were saying so far.
And I will say this, one of my most favorite people on the planet. So,
oh, thank you. I'll sit in that for just 1 second. Okay.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Like Rue said, I'm a mama too. I'm married to my husband, Steven, and that's an interesting topic as well, right? You're a relationship done different coach, and you know that there's been moments that I've come and like, I'm having a little bit of a freak out right here, but I have to be like, just let you know and acknowledge, like, ever since I took that 3-day masterclass, The Right Voice for You, and the few intros that I've been on with the relationship done different, our relationship has dynamically changed. And I was just thinking this morning, like, I know it's all the things, but those classes really allowed me to step in to my voice. So I have to thank you for that, and how much ease that truly did bring my relationship.
I love it. I love it. Well, the thing about relationship done different, and I'm going to receive that, by the way. Thank you very much. What I love about it is the focus of actually creating a relationship with yourself first. Because if you can have the 5 elements of intimacy with yourself first, it's kind of like osmosis. All your relationships change, not just the one with your insignificant other, Stephen, but, with your kids, with your pets, all the people in your world, your family, because you change. What we have a tendency to do in relationships, and I didn't know we was going to jump into this conversation.
I didn't either.
Oh, that's how organic we be, y'all. What I love, is once you get out of that knee-jerk thing of having to have someone complete you, or what this reality says, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to do all the things. Once you get out of that space, because that puts a lot of pressure on your partner too. If you've just decided that they've got to be perfect, or they've got to provide for you, they've got to, that just because you marry them, you trust that they're never going to cheat on you, or they're always going to put you first and all the things. That's just such a high expectation to put on someone else's shoulders. And you wouldn't want that placed on you either.
Well, it places it on you too, because, right, you have that point of view, and your point of view creates your reality. So if you have that locked in on you, that I've noticed with my friends, and sometimes with myself, like, I won't approach certain people like how I normally bubbly happy would, because it's like, oh, my husband's right there, and if he sees this, it's going to, it could create something
interesting. Well, could you maybe
that was before, like, the relationship done different, but I've noticed, right, because it's being in question, like, where before all this I wasn't in question, it was like, oh, I can't do that because XYZ. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do. And here's another thing about that. Are you just perhaps very aware and you know that perhaps it's not a kindness for you or him if you be yourself or whatever it is, what can he receive? Because
Right.
that's the thing. I'm so guilty of it myself in relationships where I have just gaslit people into doing things for me, like, or whatever, like, hey, we're married, don't you think instead of going out with your guy friends, you could stay at home with me and help me paint this room or whatever. I mean, I'm thinking of very specific things, that's what a husband's supposed to do, or da 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 da. Just so y'all know, I ain't married no more. Didn't work out. But I didn't have the access tools. I didn't know about the 5 elements of intimacy, trust, allowance. What are the 5 elements of intimacy?
Gratitude. That's one of the ones that I struggle with the most.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Can you actually be grateful for yourself? Can you actually be grateful for your body?
That's the biggest one, the grateful for your body. However, I was listening to a few, I think it was Cassie Summers' interview. She was having an interview with somebody outside of Access. However, you get it when you get it. And he said, one of his beings that he talks to, he's like, everybody out here who's not in a body and who's not on earth wants to be there, wants to taste, wants to experience the things that we take for granted.
Right.
The sensations that, like, just touching, like, your hands, like the smells you get. And speaking of smells, the whole COVID thing that's going on, I didn't really understand some of the stuff when I lost my taste and my smell.
Right.
And that, like, what a gift to smell and taste. Like, after having that taken away, like, I was like, what's the point of eating? Because it wasn't there,
It wasn't
like,
enjoyable.
it was like all these points of view. I was like, wow, what a difference it is to actually be able to taste your food and enjoy it, as opposed to just eating it.
I know that when I had COVID, for me, it was swallowing because I couldn't breathe. So I didn't even enjoy eating the food. I went on the liquid diet for a while. I'm not talking about alcohol, though there was some of that too. Like lots of shakes. Yeah. Soup. I was pureeing everything. I was pureeing salad because I wanted to eat. I know. Weird stuff. So that's interesting. So gratitude was the hardest one for you. The one for me was vulnerability.
Yeah, that one.
I wanted to be this strong, iconic woman, see me roar, all this stuff, I didn't want to be this weakling or whatever. And so I misidentified and misapplied the vulnerability piece as being weakness. And what if your wrongness was your strongness? Another tool in Access, where, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and it's his fault we're even having this conversation.
It's all your fault, Gary.
Yeah, Gary, damn it. Shame on you. There's this irresistibility about a person when they're willing to be all of themselves without worrying about what other people are going to think.
Yeah. And even in your partner, like what popped while you're saying that, men are supposed to be just so strong for the whole family. And I won't get into the details, but the other day my husband showed a side that he very rarely lets out. And it was so vulnerable and so raw. And that actually brought me closer to him. It was like I was able to have that allowance for him, that all this pressure has been put on him to be strong, whether that was for me or family or, years of traditional cowboy up mentality.
Sure.
That it was
cowboy up.
Yeah, cowboy up. It was.
You say that in Nashville, y'all, but it's kind of like be the man. Everybody's expecting you, to carry this family or whatever it is. I know what you mean about that vulnerability piece. We in this reality don't really allow it,
Right.
And for you to hold the space for him to be that, please acknowledge that as well. Because there are a lot of women that would just freak out if they saw their husbands falling apart.
Right.
And what if that is the indicator that he's not a robot? And hey, guess what? He actually has feelings just like you do. and all the things,
Yeah.
what would it take? That's what I love about Right Voice for You. That's another class that I facilitate, y'all. It's about stepping into all of you without apology, being willing to be all of you, even if it puts you in a vulnerable place with yourself. Maybe you don't think people want to hear what you have to say or be. And what if that's exactly what they were looking for, so that you could be the example for them, show them that that's something that they could also create in their world,
Yeah. That vulnerability and gratitude for it is huge. And how much like my social media, like marketing brain is clicking in here and be like, this is where, on TikTok took off. So one of the reasons is because people were able to go there and be them. And there was a community, like, I'm not saying there's not haters on TikTok, there are, but people, for the most part, uplifted everybody. And it was like the joy that it brought people, and it's such a quick pace, like, as especially if if you thrive on that. Like, I know me, I like speed. So to watch people create this joy, and then I can just flip through it. It's that, like, what is that? Adrenaline and a dopamine? Is that what like your happiness brain is like, yeah, like this is so fun.
Happiness brain. I love it. Choosing happiness, the whole reason why we have this Get Happy podcast. So you guys, I got to tell on us, okay? Because I was in my hot tub, creating as one does. I get in every morning, and unless it's raining. Well, if it's not raining hard, I get an umbrella because I love the hot tub. But I get out there, I commune with Mother Earth, and then the whispers start coming. Boy, and Alyssa knows about the whispers. That's part of our tickety talk story. So I get out of the hot tub and I'm texting her right away. I'm like, oh my goddess, I get that I need to be singing on TikTok a lot, which actually haven't been singing on TikTok really at all.
I don't have one TikTok up right now. Maybe one. Maybe there is one that I put of you singing, but all the others.
I was singing Sia's I wanna swing from a chandelier, So anyway, but I did the song is longer than 3 minutes, which is as long as you can do a tickety talk. I figured you just take a piece of it or something and put it in there or whatever. But you're right. I've been doing like the 15-second thing, which is, I'll find that I have to be going like this to get through it. I'm talking faster. It was funny because I sent one of the episodes to one of my really close friends. We've been friends for, gosh, half our lives. Has it been that long? I don't know. We've been friends at least 20 years, maybe longer, which would be less than half my life. But anyway, I won't get into that. And she saw the ticket at talk. She saw the one where I had Pinky. Those of you watching on YouTube now and in the future, this is Pinky. Okay. My little beanie baby. And it was literally on the desk when I introduced myself. I was like, welcome to my tickety talk. And I had like 4 seconds left. I said, me and my angry beanie baby. And because Pinky had kind of a furrowed brow. So she looks angry when y'all are gonna have to flip over to YouTube if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or the other places. So I even have one where it's like, angry unicorn, happy unicorn. And, so she was like, what is the deal? What is the angry beanie baby about? And I went, I don't know. It's just, and she goes, that's just not you. And I said, well, girl, there's this silly side of me that TikTok is bringing out in a way that I never dreamed would be so much fun. And it was funny because we just let it go out organically. And I think I started out with like 3 followers before we even got started. And then I had 5. And then the next day I had 30. And then all of a sudden it exploded. We did this little train thing and oh my goddess. So now we've been on TikTok for maybe 10 days. And I have, as of, okay. Well, it's trying to let me. Oh, it's going to the Facebook. Y'all, I'm so lousy at this. She's so much better at this than I am. I'm trying to get it to go.
I think you have 600 and some.
There's my tickety talk.
You automatically receive. Isn't it a beautiful thing?
So it's like that. It's like literally that fast, where you just do a little thing, and now I've got this thing where I'm wearing hats. The Mandu wants to give me a hat now, and they're not even available yet. So look how much fun we created with Tickety Talk.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? But we have to backtrack just a little bit here, because you haven't told anybody anything else except for that you're the mama of 2 children and your husband, Steven.
Yeah.
You're a graphic artist.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and who you be and all the things.
Yeah. So
Bad humanoid.
my background is actually more interior design based.
Oh.
And I graduated from the Academy of Art University out in San Francisco. It's a really cool school in the fact that its campus is actually all over San Francisco. So each, like my building, the interior architecture and architecture building, was down by the Giants Stadium, where my friend had one that was all the way up in like the business district. So it ranged from place to place. Like it literally, San Francisco was my campus.
Look at that. They're being so inclusive. They include the whole San Fran.
They do. So I had a lot of fun out there, and that was just one of many fun things that I got to experience when I was younger, air quotes younger, because I'm still not old.
Before children.
Yeah, before children.
All that BC, before children.
Yeah. And then I met my husband, and while I was there, I knew like San Francisco and the city just wasn't for me. I'm more of an open space girl, and those city walls were coming in. So it was pretty crazy that it all worked out. And I didn't know at the time, but you ask and you receive. So I was asking to get out there, and it just looked completely different. So anyways, then after all that, came back, married my husband, had our first baby, went back to online school for graphic design. And it just kept evolving. And then it was like I was looking into more personal development stuff. And then I found Access through a weird way, which I can maybe tell you after our commercial break. I think right now would be a good time for that.
It is time for a commercial break. So we'll be right back, y'all. Hold tight. Don't go nowhere.
And now a word from our sponsor. Feeling a little funky? Devi Essentials Pure Oil Blends can maximize your inner balance. These 100% pure oil blends are designed to vibrationally open up the channels within the physical and multi-dimensional bodies. Your body. So if you're trying to find your groove, let these pure essential oil blends work for you. For more information, go to rudranidevy.com. That's RUDRANIDEVI.com.
What creations are asking to be in this world? What would they like to look like? What contributions are your creations? Here at Designing Essentials, we ask these questions plus many more on how your creations can contribute not only to your life and living, but also to the world. Design in Essentials. Be you. Design your life. For more information and discover possibilities with your creations, visit www.designinaessentials.com.
And we're back. So you were just fixing to tell us, Miss Alyssa, your Access story.
Yeah.
Here you are doing this personal development stuff, and when you ask, guess what shows up?
Yeah.
Receive what you ask for. So, just know that, you guys. And so you're asking for this personal development stuff, and bam.
And bam, my friend Jennifer Stevens I'll plug her in here too. So if you want to check her out in Grand Junction, Colorado, she is an amazing practitioner, amazing being, just amazing. Like, go to her. You will. I haven't heard one person say, they all love her. So anyways, we were having lunch. I think it's on my birthday. She thought it was another day. It doesn't really matter. But we were talking and she's like, I think I should go to Barnes and Noble. I was like, yeah, go, go over there. Anyways, so what happened was this book called Money Isn't the Problem, You Are,
I have that book.
Flies off a Barnes and Noble store. If you don't know this, Access is a self-publishing, like they have their own self-publishing. You can't get Access books at Barnes and Nobles, y'all. Like you can't. So this book fell off and she started reading it and she's like, you've got to read this. This is a cool book. And they've got these body processes and I'm going to get my bars run. And I was like, okay, like I'll read this book and, I'll go have my bars run. So that was like my first introduction to it. And then I went and had my bars run and then had my foundation class. And
So what was it like when you had your bars run the first time? What did you notice?
yeah, so amazing. Like it was the first, I was going through some stuff, especially talking to the moms out there, the postpartum depression. And I didn't let anybody know that was going on, talking about being a strong woman. You don't let anybody know that you're struggling. So anyways, when I got off that table, that was the first time that in a long time that I was like, wow, like this is me. Like I didn't have worries. I was happy. I turned my radio all the way up and like jammed to music on my way home.
Wow.
Which was about like an hour drive. And it was just such this space of what I now know is like possibility. But it was just like, I was driving and it was literally like, I knew anything was possible. Like I knew that whatever I went after, that I could achieve. And it had been
her first bars.
Yeah. After my
session, y'all. So don't try it. Whatever you do, don't try it.
Whatever you do, don't get your bars run.
Ever.
You don't want that amount of possibility.
Your story's so much better than mine. I fell asleep and I woke up like an hour later and went, what did you do to me? But I knew at the time I was a practitioner, not of Access. I wasn't a certified facilitator yet. But it was one of those things where I muscle tested and I always trusted my body knew more than I did. So I ended up trading with this woman and she would run my bars every week and I would either channel for her because I was doing that fancy stuff back then, and or I would do other body processes on her from other modalities that I was certified in. But every time I'd go see her, I'd pass out. I mean, it was like 2002, I think, when we met, and she ended up moving in like 2004, 2005. And for a while they were doing it weekly and then we were doing it monthly. All I knew is my body, whatever was going on, it was making me more relaxed. Like I'm a very, I wouldn't say high strung person, but I am very all over the place. I'm very kind of chaotic in a lot of ways, especially when I'm creating. And this kind of got me to the space where even in the chaos, I was relaxed.
Yeah. And speaking of like channeling, so it's not channeling in bars, but that the end part of this story is so fun about that book. My friend Jen was running somebody else's bars, and long story short, it was this gentleman's grandfather that put that book in her path because they knew that they were going to come together.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah. It was right, like the multi-dimensional, because it wasn't just one book fell and it affected one person. Like it really does show how like kind of this chain that created just, I mean, everybody's life since that book has fallen, the three in this story,
right,
changed. And like it, and not changed for like, oh my gosh, people died, or now I talk to people, dead people, I see dead people. You know, everybody, the happiness part, like your book, Choosing Happiness, everybody's life has, for the most part, been the happiness part. Does that mean we've all had, you know, unicorns and sunshines and rainbows coming out of our butts? No, but
I think that a lot of people don't know that they can actually choose happiness or choose for themselves, or, you know, they put themselves last because that's the thing that we're supposed to do, you know. Take care of the kids first, take care of the husband first, take care of my family first. And what if taking care of you first was actually the kindest thing you could do for your family and your husband and your kids? Because you're actually not only giving yourself the space to honor yourself, which is the other element of intimacy, but you're showing them that it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, leading by example.
Yeah. And as you said that, like, oh my gosh, my aha. Leading by example. Even before Access, I always wanted to teach my girls that, at the time I said women, but now it's just in general, that you can be you and empower others and change their lives just by being you, and just by what you bring to the table and putting yourself first. I'm doing a 90-day challenge over on the TikTok. I
started calling it the Ticket Talk. So that's how I don't even know where that came from. The very first time I got on, it's like, welcome to my Ticket Talk, you know. I don't know.
So anyways, I've been showing up for myself every day we're on day 2, which 2 days, that's a big step for me. Okay, guys, to put myself out there.
90 days.
90
I'm
days.
holding her to it, man. So get on a Ticket Talk and find Alyssa in her 90-day challenge. I dare you.
And so every day I've been posting so far, and the space that it's created for me to go on there. And if you guys want to join, it's super simple. It's going to be 90 days of living in the question, just asking one question a day. Like, I'm excited because listening to the whispers, we've talked about the whispers.
Oh my gosh.
The whispers the night before kept me up all night. Like, oh my gosh, like, you should do this and do like living in the question. Gary says to live in the question. I was like, what does living in the question mean? Like, I've heard that and I've heard that. And the whispers were like, just go play. Like, you will be surprised after 90 days. And I was like, 90 or 60? Like 60 usually. And they're like, no, 90. And I was like, what about 30? It was like 90. I was like, okay, so 90 days.
The whispers know, you guys. The whispers are what co-create for you. Like with my book, literally wrote this book in 7 days because the whispers told me to take a week off and do nothing but write. And it just, and I was shocked at how quickly it was written. And then, you know, I went back and I finessed it a little bit and did all the things, but that's exactly what Alyssa's talking about. I have a creative writing class, learning, you know, what is it called? I don't remember what it's called. Tapping into the whispers of creative writing. Okay. Yeah. So, because people think it's a hard thing to do. And guess what? It's not. It's actually already out there. And all you have to do is tap into it. And the whispers get so excited to be included. They kept you up until like 1 a.m. with the Tickety Talk stuff. I mean, oh my goddess. The next morning she calls me. She goes, oh my God, the whispers. You're not going to believe this. You know, they just invaded me. Here I was laying in bed, ready to go to sleep. And they're like, no, you don't. Girl, you got to get up. Of course, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I don't know if that's exactly what they said.
I didn't get up out of bed, but it was like, okay. So I went into question and it was like, well, what can I create right now? Well, what I created was growing Rue's TikTok, growing my TikTok. And we're talking about TikTok, but it's not what that's not what this is about.
I'm a little addicted to the Tickety Talk. I got to say, because it's so fucking fun, y'all.
Yeah.
I used to make fun of it, but now I'm like, now I get it.
Yeah. And TikTok is a great place. It's one of the 4 sources of creation. It's creating your life. You can create and be free to create and express yourself on that.
Now we have to talk about the 4 sources of creation, which I love. As you guys know, if you've been following my podcast, I've had several people on here talking to me about it. I've got a few others because that conversation is actually creating a book called The 4 Sources of Creation or something like that. But it's question, choice, possibility, and contribution. No joke. I mean, every time you ask a question, it creates something, right?
Yeah.
It creates choices.
Yeah.
And more possibilities. And people get that part of it. The part that I've noticed that they don't really get is the contribution piece.
Well,
Someone
so,
said it in
so
a-
contribution, like this challenge, this 90-day challenge, the whispers were like, it might be slow at first, but it will contribute. It will go, and that's for me, it's my question today was, what joy can I create? Well, I wasn't expecting to be on a podcast. So I hope this brings somebody some joy listening to this podcast.
True story. I thought I had somebody else scheduled and they evidently didn't confirm with me. And I had it in my calendar. And the thing is you pulled it out of my head. I said, I should just interview Alyssa. That's what I should do. And you're like, is it time for me to be on the podcast? I'm like, sure as shit is. Girlfriend.
Yeah, and right. So that look at what just that created. And as I asked that question, it was like, get on TikTok, and they have follow trains going on right now. And it was like, after the follow train, it was like, write people notes, let them know that if they provide their email address or their physical address, handwrite them a note and send it to them. Like how that lights my world up. I love getting notes in the mail, like handwritten notes, just even if it was just like, hey,
I've sent you handwritten notes.
I know, it's right here. Look at this.
Oh my God, y'all, this card. I got to tell the story just quickly. My mom moved in. She had like, I don't know, boxes of these cards. And this card is older than Alyssa, okay?
It is.
Might be older than me. I don't know for sure. But they're so funny the way people used to talk. Read what the card says. It's just so funny.
It like, says, just to say hello, because you're grand to know. Want to say hello today and then remind you to. It's certainly been swell for me to know you as I do.
So these cards were so sad because here she had bought them, but they wanted to be out in the world and make people smile or whatever. And so all the ones that popped, I kept. And some of them, they don't even have the envelopes to them. So they're all mismatched. It's like the island of misfit toys, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, so which is all about bullying, by the way. Anyway, and my point of view, and gaslighting for sure. But gosh, that could be a whole nother class, girl.
Yeah, that could be.
We should really co-create.
But Rudolph did rise above, and he stayed true to him, and he was him. So
and he was,
and he changed the world.
He did. All them toys got delivered, and even the misfit toys got delivered. So it was all good. And boy, did I digress.
Right.
But the card, it's like, it's nice to be acknowledged. And to get handwritten things. It's true. The people that have made comments on my TikTok have been really kind. There was one guy goes, ticket a talk ? Love it. It's just, you don't realize if you can actually bring joy to somebody in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Even my mom, I was showing it to her. She's like, I don't even know what you're saying, but it's so funny.
and even quicker moments of bringing joy. There was a gentleman, like he wasn't even trying to bring me joy, but he brought me so much joy. And passing, I love Yellowstone. It's a TV show. I love Yellowstone. And he drove by in a Dodge, which is what all the Yellowstone people drive. And
of course,
his collar popped and his hat on, and he looked so much like one of those characters. And it was just like a joke in my own world. And he drove by and I busted up laughing. Like I was like, how that just proves that you never know where you're going to spread joy.
Right.
and when you're going to spread it. And it doesn't have to be a big act of kindness.
It doesn't. 15 seconds, y'all.
I don't
15
even, I
seconds.
think that was 2 seconds of him going meow.
Oh, really? Wow. Did
It
you
wasn't
write him a
even-
note?
I should have.
You have to go back and find him now.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you know, you just busted my world wide open. I was laughing so hard, I almost peed myself. I don't know.
I did. It was good thing it was close to home.
So I love it. She gets her bars run. Immediately she has to do foundation, which is bars is the prerequisite. And that's a 4-day class that I also facilitate and love. Been doing them online though, a little bit spread out. And then what happened? You just couldn't get enough?
Yeah, it was just it was different. It was like that sense of like I knew everything was possible and it was what I had been asking for. And it was somewhere where I could go and create. Like, you don't know me, but I am a massive creator. If I do not have at least probably 20 to 50 projects going, I destroy all my other creations.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, how many times have you heard people say, you're doing too much, you need to relax, you need to slow down? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Been
I mean,
there, done it, tried it, even after accessing the tools, and I would get my cranky pants. I seriously, if I go one day without even creating, it can just be the simplest thing of creating one graphic. If I do not create one graphic, like watch out world, because I get angry.
Yeah. You are a creator of magnitude. You know, I would say I've met my match, but I believe that you out-create me all the time. I mean, I'm an ideas person, but as far as going the extra mile, you're that person that actually, you actualize it. You're my actualizer. The
Aw.
actualizer.
And here I am thinking that I'm not a mover.
Girl, you're more than a mover. You're a mover and a shaker, for sure, for shizzle.
Mover, shaker.
And you know what?
create.
And that reminds me, because, you know, Alyssa's also taking my creative writing class, and we had 3 2-hour calls spaced apart over Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then 4 of the people wanted to keep going. So we've been doing every Monday. I think the next Monday is our last one. We did 6, you know, to continue. And what does Alyssa do? She creates with her children's. Can you tell them a little bit about your creation there? Because, you know, I'm going to hold you to that one too.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So it's going to be a series called What If, and it'll be 3 books. And I had an interesting point of view from when I was little that I couldn't write books. I used to love to write. And then I got made fun of for spelling one thing wrong, and I destroyed it. So anyways, through the original series of that, it was like, write with your kids, because sometimes I feel like, and this is mom guilt, like I spend too much time not creating with them. And it was like, what a gift that would be to create these 3 books. So, and I just started asking them questions, and I was like, if there was a book that you wanted to read, what would it be? And they kept saying, well, what if it was this? And then they would go off on a tangent. And what if it was this? And what if it was this? So it was a really fun conversation. And anyways, we'll be doing 3 books. The first one that came was What If Fairies Created New Galaxies? And
I love it. Where's my magic wand?
yeah. And that book,
Here's my magic mustache. We'll just pretend that this is my.
Speaking of creating, like you're choosing happiness in 7 days, that one, I wrote that book within 30 minutes. And I haven't gone back and changed it. Every time I'm like, oh, I should edit this, I keep reading and it's like, no, it's good. I also
like, did I write this?
Right. And then I went on and we have wrote the Cowgirl Mermaid. Now that title hasn't happened, but the character is a cowgirl mermaid whose ocean is space, actually.
Love it. I can't wait for that one. That's the one that lights up my body.
Yeah, it's so fun. And how much of a gift, the whole point of these books that I've written so far and that I hear is that it brings the parents and the kids together to be in a space of creation. Like the first book, it was like, what would your galaxy be? What would your new space be?
Right.
And what a gift that is right before bed to lay there. And as a creative, like if my mom asked me that, like, what would your galaxy be? What would your universe be that you would create at
Right.
night, to lay back and just be like, oh my gosh, like how many possibilities just flood in just asking that question.
True story. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see these books. And I already told Alyssa that I'm holding you to it. I self-published my first 2 books, Soul Survivor and For the Love of Running. And they're both bestsellers. And it set me up. I was creating the future for this little yellow book, which the real estate on this book is, like 120 pages versus 400 for my first book and 300 for my second book. But now it speaks 3 languages. Well, actually it speaks 4, because it's also getting printed into Russian and it's being translated into Arabic. You just never know where your creation's going to go, and it
and
all
what it's gonna open for other people. Like
Sure.
that's the gift. Write it for you, create it for you. Like selfishly, I was creating it for me and my girls to just do something together.
I love that she said selfishly.
Yeah, because I wasn't thinking, and everybody that I've read the book to so far has been like, wow.
Yeah. And we actually had a guest speaker on our last call that we did for this creative writing class. And she works for Access Consciousness Publishing, which is a completely different entity. I mean, it's like what you were saying before. And when you asked the question about children's books, she was like, yeah, definitely. There needs to be more of those, because our kids are our future as well. I mean, we've heard that before, but wow, if they can know in their tiny little bodies that they can create anything, what kind of adult and leader are they going to be for the future?
And how much that changes the world too.
Mhm.
And as you were speaking that, like full circle, how I got into Access and now it's coming back to the like Access publishing. It just hit me. I was like, that is fun. Like it just shows that everything you do, there's so many layers to it. And even though you have, maybe it looks like one thing at once, all the energies that are working behind it,
Oh yeah.
like, wow, truly
True story.
wow.
I don't think most of us actually realize what we're creating when we're in it. It's kind of like the couple that has, 100 grandchildren or great grandchildren. They never dreamed that, they would go out for a soda and then end up creating all these beings on the planet. You just never know. You never know. So, wow. Well, we could go on forever. I know, because
Right?
we have like all the things. But okay, so yeah, we'll make sure to have information about this ticketed talk 9-a-day challenge below. In fact, hell, I put my ticketed talk down there too. And if the peeps were trying to find you, where would they find you?
I am on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok now, which might be the most common one, I guess, because I'm there every day. And I do have my website, and all of them, Design and Essentials is the name to look for, except on TikTok. Just look for Alyssa Falk. But
There you go.
Design and Essentials is my company name, the business that I get to play with, and it talking about gifts of entities. Like your business truly is a gift. And
Oh my gosh,
like
yes.
Simone says, what if your life is your business? And that hit me as well, talking about the living in the question.
Yeah, she says that when you wake up, you're in business. That we have a tendency to keep it outside of ourselves. But what if we actually included our business like an entity and allowed it to co-create with the whispers?
Yes.
Why not? What could that create and generate for our future, for our life, and for our living? Woohoo! This was so much fun.
Thank you. Yeah,
As
this was a lot
always.
of fun.
Yeah, thank you for being my very special, just this morning, agreed upon guest to do this. You are a shining star in my world, and I am so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
She's finally receiving me. Oh, that was one of her assignments, y'all. I was like, okay, when somebody gives you a compliment, I want you to say thank you back. You know, they say thank you for blah, blah, blah. Receive it. Because, you know, how many of you, because this is the thing about the scorecard thing, you know, you give somebody something and they just take it. But you know the difference when you give somebody something and they actually receive it. It's a whole different way of looking at it, y'all. So I hope you could receive this podcast today with all the intentions and love that we put behind it.
And the joy that it brought you. I wanted it to bring joy today. That was my question.
There you go. You can tick that one off the list. Follow us on the Ticketed Talks. It's funny stuff, man. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll have all the information. If you liked this this conversation, please share it. And there's a subscribe button down there. And you know, if you have any comments, I read them all, even the dirty ones. So just, you know, whatever you want to do there. And yeah. And until next time, you guys, you know what I'm gonna say? Ciao, ciao for now. And all the things, and you guys won't see this anyway because, you know, this will be cut out for our sponsor.
Looking.
I'm holding tight, feeling good tonight. Ooh, 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 yeah. I'm making up the words as I go along to this song.